Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa and today I'm going to be doing a video where I read the 5-star reviews of my most hated book in 2020. Well, I guess I can't really say most hated, just most disliked book in 2020. Yeah, I guess we're just going with dislike. I don't really hate any books. Not really that I can think of, because hate's a pretty strong word, but this is my most disliked book of 2020. If you guys remember from my tier ranking of books, I went ahead and figured out what my most disliked book of 2020 was, and of course that was Reverie by Ryan Lasala. So that book was basically about these reveries, or they were like daydreams that were going on, and there was this group of people that basically went around trying to make sure that these reveries didn't harm anybody, and they were basically trying to complete this story because these were daydreams that were playing out like books. So these friends were playing along, making sure that they played out right, which again, the whole concept of it, I just didn't understand. Like, why did you need to be involved in these reveries anyway? They were going to play out the way they were supposed to play out, and everything was supposed to be fine. I just didn't understand what was the point. Like, I never got the point. And obviously there's a lot of people who disagree with me, hence these 5-star reviews. So the first review I want to talk about is Reverie was amazing. It was detailed, funny, and there wasn't any page filler. There was always something going on, something vital to the storyline, even if in small ways. In the first Reverie, I was very confused, and my brain hurt trying to figure out the logic of the reveries. By the second Reverie, I had mostly figured it out, but I think that may have been intentional. Kane doesn't fully understand what the reveries are, so the reader doesn't completely understand either. Okay. I get this. I understand that. I thought the reveries was a cool idea, it just was not executed very well. And yes, Kane never really understands what the reveries are, period, throughout the book, therefore you don't either. You understand that they're daydreams, but what is the point? How? Why? What is going on? What is the point of all of this? It just does not, none of it makes sense to me. So anyway, personal opinion. So the next one is, so I really enjoyed this and was really surprised to find out that other people didn't. People are saying it's confusing, but I found it no more confusing than any other fantasy/sci-fi thing, especially considering I went into this knowing absolutely nothing. Like, I didn't even read the description, so I really don't get other people's confusion. Oh well, definitely this one definitely floats my goat. Okay, so you don't get other people's confusion, that's fine. If you understood it, that's great. You know, there was some deeper meaning here to understand, I guess. And I'm not saying I didn't understand it. I just don't understand what the point is. Like, the point was never made as to why these reveries were necessary, why it was necessary for people to intervene in them. So that is the part that didn't make sense. It wasn't that the reverie itself didn't make sense, because I got it. They were playing out kind of like regular, like, book tropes. That's basically what they were. And these people were having daydreams. Some of them were they were the center of it. Some of them got dragged in as like side characters. Completely understand that point. It's just the point of interfering in the reveries in the first place. Just gay enough to work stars. So this is one thing that does definitely annoy me about a lot of these reviews, is they're like, oh, it's great, finally some great gay LGBTQIA plus representation, and you know, it was so wonderful, and 5 stars, and blah blah. Okay, you can still like the representation in this book without actually liking the book itself. So that's what annoys me about this, is people are like, oh, I've got to give this one 5 stars because it was great, it had great representation, blah blah blah. I get that, and I understand that, and I agree that it had great representation in it, and I love the fact that we are getting to the point in this country, in this world, where we have more of that, and people are more free to put their work out there, and it's more accepted, and it's becoming more norm. But the problem is it doesn't mean you have to 100% like a book just because it has good representation, or it doesn't mean you can't dislike a book just because it has good representation and the author is gay or trans, or you know, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like they took the fact that this is a good representation and go, oh, I must give it 5 stars just for that. Well, that's not necessarily the truth. I think we need to be a little more objective than that. I think we still need to dig a little bit deeper into it. So for me, it definitely was not a 5-star. Obviously, it was my most disliked book of 2020. So the next review is kind of a long one. I loved the representation. I love the concept. I love the villain. 10 out of 10 for most fabulous antagonist I've ever encountered. But I had a question that I don't think the novel straightened out to my liking. What was the point of the others? Don't get me wrong, I know that they didn't just spontaneously generate, but it seemed like for so many of these more harmless reveries, it would be better for them to stay quietly out of the way and do absolutely nothing. Unless someone in East Amity was having a wild murder fantasy, I don't think any of the interference was necessary. Maybe they should have stayed out of reveries entirely if possible. Sure, Kane had the unraveling and Adeline was saddled with cleanup, but the other talents of the group seemed like they were for contingency reasons if things were to go wrong. Thank you. Somebody who gave this 5 stars pointed out the huge glaring flaw. I still don't get why this person gave it 5 stars still at that point, because that was a main premise of this book. However, I am happy that I am not losing my mind and that somebody recognized this in this book. Why? Just why? So anyway, that is all I have to say. I feel justified. Enough said. Story pulled me completely in. World building excellent, characters engaging and memorable. At some point in the story, I drifted or was a little boring, but overall I liked it. A new look on fantasy, magic, and a friendship bond. The library I borrowed from made it out that the main character being gay, but I don't see how that had anything to do with the storyline. It really didn't matter what his sexual orientation was. Either way, it would have been a good story. So I do agree with this. I thought the world, it was set in the real world, except for the Reverie part, obviously. So there really wasn't much world building that needed to be done, so I don't really agree with that part. I thought some of the characters were kind of cool, and I like that we get to see a little bit into their personalities and their relationships, but it's not one of those books that really goes that deep into character development, so I really don't agree much with that. Also, I love how this person pointed out it really didn't matter what the sexual orientation was of the main character for the storyline. It didn't. I mean, who cares? He's gay. Like, show his relationship, great, but you know, again, this person's local library is like, oh, the main character is gay. Like, that's not the biggest draw to the story, or it's not supposed to be anyway. And if it is, then that's a problem in and of itself. So, anyway. The next one is, this was such an amazing book. The dream worlds were so fascinating. I also really love the gay/lesbian representation in the story. I read this not realizing the MC was gay until it was mentioned, because the story didn't revolve around his sexuality, and I feel like that's how it should always be done. Also, the cover itself is stunning. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with this person's review that, yeah, it should be done that way, that it is what it is, and it's not like the main draw of a story whether a character is gay or not. Like, it's great, and I understand that, you know, people who are gay, lesbian, bi, you know, part of the LGBTQ community, they like seeing representation in books, and that is wonderful, and I do think it should be done more, but I don't think that it should be the main draw of the story that, oh, this person's gay. You know what I mean? I just think it puts such a glaring spotlight on it that, like, they're just trying to draw in that specific audience, and like, they're not sure that their book is great. So I just think that more emphasis needs to be put on the story that just so happens to contain, you know, whatever characters in it. I think it's a better way to do it. And then, you know, I agree, the book cover was pretty. I don't think it was the most beautiful book cover I've ever seen, but, you know, it's pretty good. So the next one. Overall, 4.5 to 5 stars. I got this book on Amazon after seeing Ryan Lasala on Twitter, especially the beautiful book cover and the fact that he studied neuroscience like me. For anyone wanting to write an LGBTQIA+ book the right way, use this as your guide. Tension is high, the characters well-rounded, and the plot intriguing and satisfying. The premise alone is such a unique take on magical powers and reality. I struggled with a few things that prevented me from giving it 5 stars, but I think many others would find it a 5-star book. I mean, again, just kind of compounded all the other things that I've talked about in some of these other reviews. It's just not my favorite, but, you know, I do think that it does some things very well. The next one, finally uploading my review of this. What do you expect when you hear a book is about dream magic, a drag queen sorceress, and a boy so gay he shoots rainbows? A fun fantasy adventure, some cute romance, a comedic tone. You probably didn't expect a dark, moody, and frankly bleak exploration of what it means to be queer and the place of queer people in the world. I don't think that it really explored that much. I really don't. I think it was just an accepted, like, he was accepted whatever way he was. Yeah, I don't know. I completely disagree with this one, obviously. I just think that, again, this person is placing too much emphasis on the fact that there was a gay main character. So yeah. The next one, I loved this book. Reverie was one of my highly anticipated reads of 2019, and you cannot imagine my happiness at it being as amazing as it sounded. Reverie follows Kane Montgomery as he pieces together clues and dreams as to why he was found almost dead in a river, but now dealing with unimaginable worlds that materialize out of nowhere. It is queer, it's fun, and incredibly epic. Also, drag queens. Again, I did like the drag queen aspect of this, with the drag queen being the evil villain. You know, that was kind of cool. But, you know, a main character that's so gay that he shoots rainbows, come on, people. Like, it's a little stereotypical for my taste. You know, fine, whatever. That's how the writer wanted to write it. It's cool. You do you, boy. So the final one is, just because something is imagined doesn't mean it isn't dangerous. To be honest, all you need to know is that the main character is so gay, his superpowers manifest as rainbows. Again, with the frickin' rainbows. I did not see this coming. The charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent of it all. Really? Reverie is a force of nature, and you have no idea what epic kind of fantasy you're wading into. Moreover, it's unapologetically queer, and magical as fuck. But the most important thing, this is fantasy at its finest. Imaginative, original, and real. So I will agree that this is imaginative. It is quite a new concept to have like this magical realism element, and you're in the real world, but you're like jumping into these fantasy worlds that are basically like books playing out in real life. And I do think that part is interesting, and it is very new, and it is very unique, but I just don't think that it was done well enough to consider it a 5-star book. So anyway, those are all the 5-star reviews that I picked out for my least favorite book of 2020, which was Reverie by Ryan Lasala. So leave a note down below in the comments if you guys have read this book, what you thought of it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching my video. I upload every Wednesday and Saturday, and I would really love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe my videos. Have a great day.